In this video, I'm going to talk about the FLY5, or what I like to call the Roth IRA of health, all right? And some people are like, what the heck is a Roth IRA? We'll get into that a little bit. And then also we're going to explain in detail what the FLY5 are. So I'm going to first break down what the FLY5 are, and then we'll get into what a Roth IRA is, because that's why I call the FLY5 the Roth IRA. So, of health. So the FLY5 are exercise, eating window, water intake, sunlight exposure, and sleep. Those 5. And I'm going to go into detail about all 5 of those. But the reason why I call those the FLY5 and then the Roth IRA of health is because those 5 things are what you need to concentrate on to live a healthy lifestyle over the long term until you're 65, 70, 80 years old. And the reason why I call it the Roth IRA of health is because there's a funny story behind this. I was at the prep school at the Air Force Academy, and I was in this class, okay? And in this class, the major who was teaching the class, it was basically to teach us how to study, how to fill out planners, how we should plan our day. It was basically teaching us how to be good students and, the best way we could live while we were use our time wisely at the prep school, right? Because everyone at the prep school is not necessarily the smartest human beings, so we're trying to get into the academy. Anyways, so one class, this major brings a sheet of paper, or brings a lot of sheets of paper, and hands them out to all of us. And he said, take a look at these guys. And I looked at it, and there were 2 columns. One column had a Roth IRA investment when you're 18 to 30, and the other column had another Roth IRA investment of when you're 30 years old until you're 60 or 65. I can't remember if it was 65 or not. Anyways, that's not a huge deal. But he wanted to teach us about Roth IRAs because he was wanting to teach us about long-term investing. And I found this is probably one of the most important things I've ever done in my life when it comes to investing, because it set me up to be able to do fly bodies to take a chance and do fly bodies over the long term. And the reason why is a Roth IRA is basically a financial tool that you can use as almost like a retirement fund, and you get taxed when you put money in as opposed to getting taxed on the money you take out, right? So that was a big difference between the IRAs. Is the traditional IRA, you get taxed on the money that you that you take out when you're 60, 65. And so this way you get taxed on the money that you put in with the tax bracket that you're in. So, and I might be messing that up just a little bit, but anyways, essentially this guy said, we are going to talk to you about what a Roth IRA is so that you all can be millionaires when you're 60, 65. And I was like, I want to be a millionaire when I'm 60, 65, because both my parents were teachers and we lived a great life, but we weren't ultra wealthy. And I was like, you know what? I want to have some money when I'm older. Like I want to, do well for myself. That's not to say my parents didn't do well for themselves, but I was always interested in how to save money. And that's just how my mindset was always about. Anyways, let's get back to it. So he showed us these columns where it said, if you invest $5,000 every year from the year when you're 18 to 30 and you don't invest any more money, that's $60,000. And if there's an interest rate of return at around 10%, by the time you are 60, then you will be a millionaire. And it's like, oh man, that's pretty cool. You can invest just that much money and stop investing when you're 30 and you're going to be a millionaire. Sign me up. So fast forward to when I was a freshman at the Air Force Academy. I had saved up some money at the prep school. And I went to this bank and I said, hey, I want to start a Roth IRA. Well, this lady was like, hey, you need to talk to this guy at Edward Jones, shout out Major Shahida. And she was like, you should talk to him because he does wealth advising for people. And if you want to start a Roth IRA, talk to him. So I talked to him, started a Roth IRA when I was 19, I think. And I put about $2,000 in to begin with. And I put in like maybe $100 every month after that. And so I didn't like max it out when I was, younger, but I started it. And now it's in 6 figures. And it's pretty cool because I'm like, man, I'm so glad I did that investment up front, because even if I didn't invest any more money, it would turn to be $1 million by the time I'm 60, 65. Which is pretty cool. Anyways, so the reason why I call the FLY5 the Roth IRA of health is because these things you should be doing on a daily basis in order to feel a sense of comfort in your wellness when you're 60, 65. right? Exercise at least 15 minutes of vigorous exercise or 30 minutes of light to moderate exercise every day. Have an eating window of 12 hours or less. That is probably the most difficult one for most people because they just don't know what their eating window is. So if you can stick to a 12-hour eating window or less, that's super helpful. Get around 15 to 30 minutes of sunlight each day, preferably in the morning when the sun is just coming up, so it sets your circadian rhythm, or at noon so that you can get the vitamin D when you're wearing a short sleeve shirt and shorts. And I know there's certain circumstances and it's like, hey, when it's snowing outside, I can't do that. Totally understand. But still getting outside to get that sunlight is going to set your circadian rhythm in the morning, which is great. And I will deep dive all of these things at some point. If you want more information or have any questions, feel free to reach out. The next thing is our sleep. Sleep is unbelievably important. They've done research to show that 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night is a solid amount of sleep. That's around 4 to 5 REM cycles of sleep. And they have shown that that's just a good amount of time for your brain to like wash out all the adenosine and then also clear out some other stuff from your brain and also for your body to really rest and recover. A lot of things with sleep, it's super important. So 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night on average. And then the last thing is water. And you should be drinking water probably 80 to 90% of the time because your body, if you're a male, on average, it's 60% water. If you're female, on average, it's 55% water. And then the crazy thing is your brain is actually like 85% water or something crazy like that. And your organs are also, 75, 80% water. So water is what your body is made up of significantly. So drinking water on a consistent basis is very important. So those are the FLY5. And they're not going to, just by doing the FLY5, you're not going to turn into an Olympic athlete. But that's why I call them the Roth IRA of health, is because if you do these things on a consistent basis, you will set yourself up to have a healthy body and mind over the long term. And it's not to say like, hey, if you do these, it's definitely going to work for you. It all depends on how you implement it. But one of the things I enjoy about doing these 5 things is it gives me some semblance that I'm checking these things off during the day. And then it gives me, honestly, a lot of hope that I'm like, oh man, I'm living a healthy lifestyle. And when I check these things off, I'm like, if I can do all 5 of those things in one day, we're living a pretty good life. Okay. So it gives me confidence. Yeah, that's it. And it's, if you do the math, so back in the day, it was only $5,000. You can only allocate $5,000 a year to a Roth, and that came out to around $11 a day. Now it's actually $7,000, but for the past 5 to 10 years, it's been $6,000. And so what I'll say is, since it's at $7,000, I'll say it's $19 a day if you invest the full amount into your Roth. All right, $19 a day. Doesn't sound like a large amount. It's not like $100 a day, but it's not a small amount. It's not like $2 a day. So that's why it's important that you have to dedicate some time and effort to your health each and every day so that at the end of the year, you're like, man, I allocated around $7,000 in time and effort towards my health Roth IRA. Okay, that's it. I wanted to do a video on that because I've been talking to a few people about the Roth IRA of health. And they're like, man, that makes so much sense. And I just feel like it's super fun to think about like when you're getting older and you want to be able to walk around, you want to be able to think clearly, you want to be able to do things when you're older that, don't get to do when you're 30, 40, 50, because maybe you don't have that type of wealth. And so it takes a long time usually for people to build up enough wealth to really get to do what they want sometimes, which is fair. Some people work a job for 20, 30, 40 years, and then they retire and they're like, man, I want to do what I want to do. And if you're one of those people, then when you're 60, 70, 80 years old, you're going to want to be functional enough to where you're like, okay, I can do what I want to do because my body and my mind is fresh and it's still capable of doing the things I want to do. So that's it. And that's kind of like the main point about the Roth IRA of health is money, can only go so far when if you're able to do something with it, like physically able to do something and mentally able to do something with it. But if you completely wreck your body over 40, 50 years and you're not capable of being able to enjoy that money that you've saved up, hopefully with a Roth, then, what was the point of saving it all up over that time period, right? Maybe you can give it to your kids, but and so on and so forth. So it's not a total waste. But you're going to want to enjoy that time in your life. Hopefully you get to have some, maybe have grandkids or just enjoy time with friends and stuff like that. And I want that for everyone, because I know that as we get older, we're going to start wanting to do things that we want to do and we have capability of doing. So that's it. That was kind of a long-winded Fly 5. Like I said, I'll do a deep dive into each one of those Fly 5. And if you have any questions on those, please feel free to reach out. But I highly recommend doing those. And thanks for watching. Get after it.